The sound of the ion whip split the cold morning air like thunder. Every strike against the metal floor echoed through the Hall of Verdicts. 5,000 verdants filled the massive chamber, their glowing skin lighting the crystal walls in shades of blue and gold. Behind a thick glass barrier, the humans stood silent. Thin, dust-covered, forgotten. Among them was a boy, Aaron Vale, 12 years old, eyes sharp despite the fear that trembled in his chest. He pressed his hands against the barrier, trying to see what was happening on the tribunal platform. A guard shoved him with the butt of a shock rod. Back of the line, human. Aaron stumbled, but he didn't move away. He had seen whippings before, but never for someone like her. 2 guards dragged a girl into view. She was only a few years older than him, maybe 13. Her skin was a deep emerald green, polished like glass. Silver threads ran through her black hair, catching the light of Sirian's twin suns. The insignia on her collar glowed faintly. House Sen, 3rd circle. A noble. The crowd whispered. Nobles didn't end up here. The adjudicator's voice boomed through hidden speakers. Lyra Sen of House Sen, you stand accused of theft against the Verdant state. 17 ration packs stolen from military stock. The crowd gasped. Those rations, he continued, were found among unlicensed human refugees. Aaron's throat went dry. Rations meant life. For humans, it meant hope. The girl didn't look afraid. She stood tall between the guards, chin high, eyes forward. Her silver-flecked gaze swept the crowd, calm and steady. I do not deny it, she said. Her voice was clear, soft but strong. I only deny your right to punish compassion. The adjudicator's markings flashed red with anger. You dare speak of compassion after stealing from soldiers? I dare speak, she said. Because the hungry are still children, no matter what world they were born on. A murmur ran through the arena. Shock, outrage, awe. The adjudicator lifted his hand. Sentence is fixed by the Code of 9. 300 lashes. The scars will be permanent. The shame eternal. Aaron's stomach turned to ice. He had seen men broken by 10 lashes. 300 meant death. Guards pushed Lyra toward the punishment post. Her head stayed high, but her hands trembled just once. Aaron saw it. That small, human tremor. Fear. Real fear. Something inside him broke. Wait, he whispered. Then louder. Wait. The sound cut through the crowd. Heads turned. The overseer barked. Silence. But Aaron pushed forward, weaving through legs and elbows until he reached the barrier. He didn't think. He jumped. The glass barrier hummed and let him through with a painful shock. He landed hard on the polished floor, gasping. The entire hall went silent. The adjudicator stared at him like he'd just crawled out of a sewer. Human, you defile the court of law. Aaron's voice shook, but he remembered what he'd heard miners whisper about, the Old Covenant. Covenant of 9, Article 11, he said quickly. Any sentient may claim protective custody over another by accepting their punishment in full. The hall exploded into gasps and murmurs. The adjudicator's eyes flared. You are a child. The law doesn't say age, Aaron said. His legs trembled, but he didn't back down. Lyra stared at him in disbelief. Why? She asked softly. Aaron swallowed hard. Because feeding the hungry isn't a crime. And someone should stand up. The adjudicator's markings flashed red, then dimmed. The ancient law was clear. Very well, he hissed. The law shall be honored. Guards, bind the human. They tore Aaron's shirt away. His thin back showed the marks of old labor, scars from mining drills, and falling rock. Chains locked around his wrists. The first strike landed. Fire. Pure white fire. His body jerked. A scream tore from his throat, but he bit it down. Another lash. Then another. The crowd grew quiet, watching. At 20 lashes, his vision blurred. At 50, blood streaked his back. At 100, his knees gave out, held only by the restraints. And then, through the haze, he heard soft footsteps. Lyra. She had broken away from the guards. She knelt beside him, ignoring shouts. Her hand found his, fingers cold but steady. Look at me, she whispered. He did. Why would you do this? She asked. Because it's wrong, he gasped. And someone should say it. The lashes went on. 200. 250. The pain became light and sound. Her grip was the only thing that felt real. When the final strike came, the crowd was silent. Cut him down, Lyra ordered. Her voice was steel. Guards hesitated, but her command carried the weight of her house. Now. They obeyed. Aaron fell into her arms, half-conscious, blood staining her noble robes. She held him tight, whispering words he didn't understand. Later, when he woke in a healing chamber, she was still there, eyes tired, robe torn, vow already spoken. She had saved him. But both of them knew something far bigger had just begun. 15 years later, the echo of that whip still lived beneath Aaron Vale's scars. He had grown into the man everyone whispered about, the human who once bled for a Verdant noble. Now, those same nobles had no choice but to face him in the Council of Concord, a glass tower that pierced the skies of Syrian like a spear of light. The chamber shimmered with the glow of bioluminescent markings. 20 Verdant elders seated in perfect formation around a circular table of living crystal. When Aaron entered, their colors shifted from polite blue to irritated red. He walked with deliberate ease, jacket half-zipped, boots scuffed, the picture of casual defiance. Advocate Vale, droned Elder Threx, his voice oily and cold. So good of you to finally grace us with your presence. Got lost, Aaron said, sliding into his seat. All these walls look the same when you weren't born glowing. The room dimmed in offense. At the far end of the chamber stood Commander Lyra Sen. Taller now, sharper too. The defiant girl he remembered had become a living weapon. Her jade skin flawless under the twin suns pouring through the glass roof. Her silver-threaded hair bound tight in military braid. She didn't look at him when he entered, but he felt the shift in her energy all the same. 15 years, and she still had that same silent gravity. Elder Threx gestured toward her. Commander Sen will brief you on the Vraxian situation. Lyra spoke with the controlled precision of a soldier. The Vrax Dominion has seized 3 disputed border systems. They destroyed a Verdant patrol and executed prisoners. We are preparing retaliation, 6 dreadnoughts, full strike fleet. She waved a hand, and a holographic map filled the room with glowing orbits and burning red lines. Simple, she said. We strike hard. We strike fast. They retreat. Aaron leaned back, unimpressed. And then, Lyra's silver eyes narrowed. Then peace through fear. Peace through ashes, he corrected softly. The Vrax don't fear force, they feed on it. You burn their colonies, they'll spend centuries returning the favor. The elders hissed. Human arrogance, one muttered. Aaron ignored them. Try something smarter. Send one ship. An old cargo freighter. Paint it yellow. Yellow. Lyra repeated, tone sharp. It's their sacred color of chaos. They think only madmen wear it. You send that ship, they'll stop to wonder what kind of lunacy they're dealing with. Curiosity buys time. Time means options. The elders buzzed with disbelief. You suggest mockery over might? Aaron shrugged. I suggest survival over pride. Silence stretched. Lyra stared at the hologram, then at him. The air between them felt electric, charged with history neither could speak aloud. Finally, Elder Threx sighed. Commander Sen, your opinion? Lyra's jaw flexed. It's reckless, she said, and foolish. Aaron smirked. So it might actually work. A ripple of amusement, quick, unwanted, spread through the room. Lyra shot him a warning glare, but the council began to murmur. The idea was absurd, yet intriguing. The vote came swiftly. By a narrow margin, 2 votes, they approved the Yellow Ship Initiative. Lyra turned back to him, eyes cold as steel. When this fails, she said, the deaths will be on your conscience. Aaron rose slowly, meeting her gaze. Wouldn't be the first time I bled for your people. The words hit her like a pulse to the heart. Her markings flared once, uncontrolled, before dimming to disciplined calm. Later, when the chamber emptied and the lights dimmed, Lyra lingered alone, staring at the hologram of the yellow freighter spinning silently in the dark. She hated that it reminded her of him, bold, reckless, impossible. The boy who had once taken her punishment now stood as her equal, maybe even her rival. She whispered to herself, voice low but certain. You still think you can save everyone, Aaron Vale. Let's see how far that foolish heart of yours can go. Outside, across the horizon, storm clouds gathered over Syrian's twin suns. The universe was shifting again, and this time, neither compassion nor courage would be enough to survive what was coming next. The ship was older than both of them combined. Its hull creaked every time it changed course, like an old man muttering about the weather. The Broken Promise had once been a trading vessel, long before it was patched together for undercover missions that the Verdant Council preferred to deny existed. Aaron Vale stood in the narrow passageway, ducking under a leaking pipe. Luxury accommodations, huh? You nobles really know how to travel. From the cockpit, Lyra's voice floated back, steady, precise, and utterly unimpressed. It flies. That's all that matters. He grinned. Flies? Barely. I think the airlock tried to bite me. Lyra ignored him, focused on the controls. Her posture was perfect, every motion deliberate, like she was carved from discipline itself. The glowing marks along her neck pulsed in steady rhythm. Beautiful, distant, unreadable. Their mission was simple on paper. Trace the origin of a data leak that had triggered the Vrax border conflict. In reality, it was anything but simple. The trail led through the outer belt, pirate space, smuggler havens, and debris fields full of things that weren't entirely dead. And the council had decided the best cover story was lovers. Bonded merchants, the official document said. Married, the gossip network would say within hours. Aaron leaned against the bulkhead. Remind me again why we're pretending to be bonded? Lyra didn't look up. Because Verdant couples don't get questioned. And because bonded pairs share quarters. Easier to hide you that way. He raised a brow. Sharing quarters? That convenient. She shot him a glare over her shoulder, and for a second, he caught a flicker of humor in her eyes before she turned back to the stars. Don't make it weird, Vale. The stars outside blurred as the ship jumped to half-light speed. Metal groaned. Systems flickered. For a few quiet moments, there was only the hum of the engine and the steady rhythm of her breathing. Then came the cold. The heating grid failed somewhere between jump sectors, and within an hour, frost began to form on the control panels. Aaron rubbed his hands together. Well, that's great. First mission together in 15 years, and we freeze to death before the conspiracy kills us. Lyra stood, opening a storage locker. She pulled out a heavy thermal cloak and wrapped it around both of them without ceremony. Her touch was all business, but her glyphs glowed faintly against his chest where the fabric overlapped. You'll die faster, she said. Your body's not built for this temperature. He smiled faintly. So you're saving me again? Her expression didn't change, but her markings pulsed faster. Don't flatter yourself. I just don't want to explain to the council why their human advocate froze in my ship. Still, she didn't move away. The heat radiating from her skin was startling, alive, almost electric. He felt her breath near his collarbone, the steady beat of her pulse against his ribs. Silence settled between them, fragile but comfortable. Then Aaron spoke softly. You ever wonder why they paired us for this mission? Because they want results, she said. And they think you're expendable. He chuckled. Maybe. Or maybe they know we're the only two who don't flinch from truth. Lyra didn't answer. Her hand rested on his shoulder for balance as the ship shook through turbulence. When she steadied herself, the edge of her sleeve slipped back, revealing faint scars running along her wrist. Not from battle. From a whip. His breath caught. You kept them. Her gaze snapped to his. As a reminder, she said. Of what? That mercy costs more than most can pay. He wanted to say something. Anything. But the proximity alarm screamed, breaking the moment. A flash of red light painted their faces. Lyra lunged for the console. Inbound contact. No transponder. Pirates? Aaron asked, strapping in. Worse, she said, voice calm but tight. Verdant patrols. They're not supposed to be out here. Looks like someone doesn't want us finding the truth. Lyra's hands flew across the controls. Then we'll have to outrun them. As the broken promise dove into the storm of asteroids, Aaron glanced at her glowing marks, bright with focus, fierce with resolve, and realized something dangerous. 15 years ago, he had saved her life. But this time, she might be the only thing standing between him and a war. The asteroid belt glittered like shattered glass around the orbital station known as Haven 7. On the surface, it was a place for trade and diplomacy. In truth, it was a nest of thieves, spies, and black market deals wrapped in polite smiles. Perfect for undercover work and for betrayal. Aaron Vale adjusted the collar of his borrowed jacket, trying not to look impressed by the sprawling promenade. Neon lights reflected off mirrored panels. Alien perfumes hung in the air, and every species in the sector seemed to watch everyone else. He could feel the eyes. He could always feel the eyes. Beside him, Commander Lyra Sen looked like she belonged to another universe. Her military poise melted into grace, her dark uniform replaced by an iridescent silver gown that shimmered like starlight over emerald skin. The faint glow of her glyphs pulsed beneath the fabric, carefully tuned to the rhythm of Verdant nobility, controlled, poised, unreadable. "Remember," she said softly, looping her arm through his. "We're bonded traitors. Affectionate, confident, inseparable." Aaron smirked. "So basically, pretend I'm your favorite mistake." Her eyes flickered with the briefest hint of amusement. "Just follow my lead, human." The music began, a soft, haunting Verdant measure that twisted through the air like a heartbeat. Lyra guided him toward the central floor where bonded pairs danced in complex, spiraling patterns that spoke more in rhythm than words. Every motion was symbolic: loyalty, trust, surrender. A cultural ritual disguised as art. Aaron wasn't trained for this, but he was good at watching people. And he had watched her for 15 years. When she stepped left, he was already there. When she turned, he caught her exactly right. His movements weren't perfect, but they were honest, real, human. For the first time that night, Lyra forgot the crowd. Her marks flared bright gold, betraying emotion she usually buried beneath layers of protocol. "Stop doing that," she whispered. "Doing what?" "Matching me." He smiled. "Maybe you've been matching me." Her pulse spiked. He felt it through their linked hands. To the crowd, they looked like two performers perfectly in sync. To anyone who truly watched, the air between them was something else entirely, tension balanced on a knife's edge. Then the room changed. The music faltered. A new voice cut through the hum, smooth, deep, dangerous. "Well, this is unexpected." Aaron turned to see a tall Verdant in a diplomat's coat, markings glowing the dark red of old bloodlines. The man's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Ambassador Karan," Lyra said stiffly. "Didn't expect to find you outside the council ring." "I go where the galaxy needs my charm," Karan said, gaze sliding to Aaron. "And who might your pet project be?" Aaron didn't flinch. "The pet talks back," he said. "Careful, you might learn something." Karan's smile thinned. "Still sharp, human. Tell me, Commander, does he know who ordered his name erased from the Verdant archives after that little tribunal incident?" Lyra froze. "You wouldn't dare." "Oh, but I would," Karan purred. "The truth burns brighter than any whip, doesn't it?" Before Aaron could answer, the proximity alarm blared across the station. Red lights washed over the glass floors. Through the windows, dozens of small vessels detached from the shadows of the asteroid belt. Attack patterns unmistakable. "Vrax raiders," Lyra hissed, switching instantly from noble to soldier. "How did they?" "Because someone leaked our cover," Aaron finished grimly, drawing his plasma sidearm. Chaos erupted. Guests scattered. Security fields flared to life. Lyra grabbed his wrist. "This way." They sprinted through the twisting corridors, boots pounding against metal. Explosions rocked the station, shaking loose panels from the ceiling. Aaron ducked under falling debris, pulling her behind cover. "You always bring the best dates, Commander." "Shut up and shoot." They fought side by side. Her precision a deadly dance, his instincts reckless but fast. When a raider aimed for her back, Aaron moved without thought. The shot meant for her hit him square in the ribs. Pain exploded through him, and he went down hard. Lyra turned with a scream that wasn't language. Her glyphs flared white-hot, searing the air. She ripped through the remaining attackers like a storm made flesh, each movement both fury and grief. When silence finally fell, she dropped to her knees beside him. Blood, green and red mingled, spread across his chest. "Why would you do that again?" she whispered, voice breaking. He managed a half-smile. "Because it's kind of our thing." Her hands glowed as she pressed them to the wound, but the healing light flickered, failing against the damage. "You idiot," she said, tears cutting tracks through the dust on her face. "You absolute human idiot." Aaron's vision dimmed, but he could still see her eyes, silver and furious and terrified. "Worth it," he murmured. Lyra looked at him, trembling, and for the first time since the tribunal 15 years ago, the perfect soldier cracked. "Not again," she said. "Not this time." She lifted him, carried him through smoke and fire toward the broken promise, her pulse sinking with his fading one. Somewhere deep inside, a truth neither could admit burned brighter than the explosions outside. They could survive politics, lies, and even war. But they could not survive losing each other. Aaron Vale woke to the hum of a med scanner and the steady rhythm of a ship's engines. Everything smelled like antiseptic and smoke. His ribs felt like shattered glass glued together by light. He blinked against the soft glow of the infirmary dome. The broken promise had survived, barely. Its hull was scorched, half of its systems offline. Someone had dragged him back from the edge again. He didn't have to guess who. Lyra Sen sat beside the medical bed, her uniform torn and singed, one shoulder bandaged. Her hands rested on her knees, but her eyes were fixed on the stars beyond the viewport. She looked like she hadn't moved in hours. "You know," Aaron croaked, "if you wanted me shirtless again, you could have just asked." Her head turned slowly, expression unreadable. "You almost died." Almost is my favorite word. Not mine. She stood, pacing once before turning on him. "You can't keep doing this, Aaron. Throwing yourself into fire and calling it heroism." He met her glare with a weary smile. "And you can't keep pretending you don't care." Her markings pulsed once, betraying her. Then they went still again. "I care," she said quietly, "about the mission." "Of course you do." He sat up despite the pain. "So what's next?" "We find out who sold us out." Lyra exhaled, sharp and shaky. "Already did." It wasn't pirates or Vrax. It was someone inside the council. The data leak we were chasing, it was bait. We were supposed to die out here. Aaron's hands clenched into fists. "Why?" She activated the hollow table beside the bed. Streams of encrypted files floated in the air, documents, communications, secret directives stamped with the mark of the pure accord, a shadow faction buried within the Verdun hierarchy. "They've been manufacturing the war," she said. "False reports. Staged attacks. The goal isn't defense, it's purification. They want to wipe out the human colonies and then erase every mixed blood Verdun who could contaminate the line." Aaron stared at the glowing data. His own name appeared in one of the kill lists, right under hers. "They think we're proof that the system failed," she whispered. "That compassion is a disease." He forced a laugh, rough and humorless. "Guess we're the cure, then." She looked at him, eyes bright with conflict. "No, we're the target." The ship rocked suddenly, alarms blaring. A new transmission cut through the static, council seal, encrypted priority. Aaron read it upside down on the hollow. "Advocate Vale and Commander Sen are to be detained immediately for treason," he muttered. "Lethal force authorized." "Well, that's subtle." Lyra's jaw tightened. "They're framing us. They'll use Haven 7's destruction as proof we triggered the Vrax retaliation." "So," Aaron said, pushing himself off the bed, "we do what we always do." She frowned. "And what's that?" He smiled. "Break the rules." She almost smiled back. Almost. They moved fast. Lyra rerouted the ship's comms through the medical bay's inactive beacon, an old pirate trick. Aaron began recording a data burst that would expose everything. The Pure Accord's crimes, the forged evidence, the Council's role in the cover-ups. Lyra stopped him halfway. "If you send that," she said, "they'll hunt us across every star." "They already are." Her eyes softened. "You'll lose everything." "I already did," he said quietly. "The day they taught me silence was survival." She looked at him for a long time. Then she placed her hand over his, over the console switch. Her glyphs flared gold, merging with his faint, hidden ones under the scars. "Then we burn their lies together," she said. The data burst shot into the void. Millions of encrypted packets scattering across every frequency, impossible to stop. The truth was loose now, alive and hungry. Moments later, a dozen Council warships appeared on long-range scanners, closing fast. Lyra grinned, fierce and beautiful. "Well," she said, "we just declared war on the most powerful people in the galaxy." Aaron met her gaze, heart hammering. "Good," he said. "It's about time they met someone who bleeds for real." Outside, the broken promise banked toward the dark edge of the nebula, its engines roaring like an angry ghost. Behind them, the first sparks of rebellion ignited in the stars. The sky above the capital burned with banners of light as the fleet returned, warships gliding through the clouds like silent knives. The council called it a public proceeding. The people called it what it was, an execution. Aaron Vale and Lyra Sen were dragged through the corridors of the Grand Tribunal, wrists bound in luminous restraints that hummed with static energy. Every step echoed, a slow march back to where it all began. The same plaza, the same post, the same law that once saved a girl, now turned against them both. The crowd was endless this time. Verdans and humans packed shoulder to shoulder, filling the square until it looked like a living ocean of faces. Some shouted for justice. Some shouted for blood. But most were silent, waiting. General Threx stood on the high dais, his markings a cold, hateful white. 15 years ago, he began, his voice amplified through the neural speakers. This human defied the law of species. This commander defied her oath. Together they polluted the line of the Verdans with sympathy, corruption, and deceit. Lyra's head remained high, though her torn uniform revealed the scars from countless battles, and from that first whipping so long ago. Aaron, beside her, still bled from a cracked lip, but somehow managed to grin. Polluted the line? He called out. Funny. I thought compassion was supposed to make us better. The crowd murmured. Threx's glow flared crimson. Silence the animal. A guard struck Aaron across the face. He staggered, then spat blood onto the shining floor. It sizzled where it fell. Lyra's voice cut through the static. He's no animal. He's more Verdan than half your council combined. Enough, Threx roared. By decree of the Accord, you will both die at dawn. But the people deserve a symbol. The commander will administer his execution herself, prove her loyalty, or share his fate. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Lyra's pulse flared gold, then dimmed. Her eyes met Aaron's. No words, just understanding. They dragged him to the post again. The same metal, the same cold. History folding back on itself like a cruel joke. As they bound his wrists, Aaron leaned toward her. Trust me, he whispered. She gave a single nod. Always. Threx extended the whip, ion charged, sizzling with energy. Begin. Lyra took it. The weapon hummed, alive in her hands. The crowd held its breath. She raised it high, then turned, and the lash cracked across Threx's chest. The sound was thunder. His scream, worse. I claim protective custody, she shouted, voice ringing through every speaker. By the oldest law of the Covenant, his punishment is mine. The crowd erupted into chaos. Some roared in protest, others in awe. Aaron felt the nanotransmitter under his tongue activate, the same one they'd hidden days ago. The truth files, the recordings, the corruption logs, all of it exploded into the hollow sky above the plaza. Images filled the air, secret orders, executions, purges, experiments, the pure Accord's crimes written in light for the entire world to see. Threx bellowed, cut the feed. Shoot them both. Guards lifted rifles, but their marks flickered uncertainly. The law Lyra had invoked was ancient, sacred, binding. To disobey, it was to lose one's lineage, one's honor. One soldier dropped his weapon, then another, then dozens. Lyra turned, her glyphs burning bright gold. Verdans, she cried. You call yourselves pure, yet you destroy your own children for loving across stars. You hide your crimes behind the word law. Look around you. Does this look like purity? Or does it look like fear? A human mother in the crowd lifted a small hybrid child onto her shoulders. The child's skin shimmered green and rose under the twin suns. The crowd went still. One by one, mixed families stepped forward. Hidden lovers, exiled workers, half-blood children, faces the council pretended did not exist. Aaron strained against his restraints. They're not hiding anymore, he said softly. Threx lunged toward Lyra, blade drawn, fury made flesh. She moved faster, blocking the strike with the whip's handle. Aaron twisted, snapping the chain around his wrist. The two of them moved together, as if rehearsed by fate. The general's blade went flying. His foot slipped on the blood he'd spilled. Aaron's fist connected. Threx crashed to the marble floor. Lyra stood over him, chest heaving, whip humming in her grip. Your era ends here. Around them, guards laid down weapons. Verdans knelt beside humans. The light of their combined glyphs rose into the air, gold and green, red and silver, blending into a new color that had never existed before. For the first time in history, the plaza of punishment became a place of unity. Lyra dropped the whip. Aaron stumbled forward, blood and light mixing on his skin. You just started a revolution, he whispered. She met his eyes, tired and fierce. No, she said. We finished one. Above them, the truth kept playing. Bright enough to outshine the suns, the dawn rose over Syrian like a promise kept too long. The twin suns spilled gold across the city's towers, painting them in light instead of blood for the first time in living memory. The fires from the night before still smoldered, curling thin smoke trails into the bright morning, but no soldiers came to stamp them out. There were no orders left to give. The old order was gone. Aaron Vale stood at the edge of the Integration Plaza, bandages crossing his chest where the whip and the war had left their mark. The post that had once been used for executions was gone. In its place, a sculpture rose, a curve of crystal shaped like two hands meeting across a fracture, frozen in eternal light. The inscription below it read, "The law protects all, or it protects none." Lyra Sin approached quietly, her commander's armor replaced by the ceremonial robes of the new council. The gold insignia of her office glowed softly at her collarbone, but she wore it with the uneasy grace of someone who still preferred a blade to a title. "You look uncomfortable," Aaron said, turning toward her with a half-smile. "I prefer battles with fewer speeches," she replied. "At least bullets don't ask for applause." He laughed, low and tired. "You're getting applause whether you want it or not. Half the planet thinks you're a savior." Her expression softened. "And the other half? Still deciding if they should thank you or fear you." Lyra's gaze drifted toward the crowds gathering below. Verdans and humans, working side by side to rebuild the plaza, to clean the ruins, to argue and plan. Not perfect, but together. "That's fine," she said. "Change always starts with fear." They stood in silence for a while, watching the sunrise paint the city. The rebellion had ended faster than anyone expected. Once the truth broadcast hit the outer systems, colonies rose in defiance, officers defected, and half the fleet refused orders. The pure accord was dismantled within days. The High Council dissolved itself, and in its place, a new charter was written, the Dawn Accord. Lyra turned toward Aaron, studying him. "You could have taken leadership," she said. "The humans wanted you. You refused." "I'm not built for politics," he said. "I break things. I don't manage them." She smiled faintly. "And yet you rebuilt a world." He shrugged. "I had help." A quiet moment passed, broken only by the wind moving through the crystal towers. Then she reached into her sleeve and drew out a small metallic emblem, a ring made of intertwined silver and green alloy. "I've been carrying this for months," she said. "It's not exactly regulation." He took it, turning it over in his palm. It was simple, elegant. Two metals fused so perfectly they couldn't be separated without breaking both. "You're terrible at subtlety," he said. "I've been told," she replied. "It's supposed to mean partnership, not ownership. A symbol of the new accord and of us." He looked up, searching her face. "You sure the council won't lose its mind?" "They already did," she said with a small smile. "This time they'll adapt." He slipped the ring onto his finger. "Guess that makes us official." Again, her glyphs glowed faintly gold, pulsing in sync with his hidden ones beneath the scars. It always was. Below them, a sudden cheer rose from the plaza. Workers stepped aside as a group of children ran past, a mix of every shade of skin and light, laughing as they played around the fountain. The sound cut through the heavy silence that had haunted the city for so long. Aaron watched them, his expression softening. "You think they'll remember how hard this was?" "They shouldn't have to," Lyra said. "That's the point." He nodded slowly. "And what about us?" She turned to him, eyes gleaming silver beneath the suns. "We keep standing up," she said simply. "Every day, until there's no one left who needs to." He smiled, looping his fingers with hers. "Standing up," he echoed. As the suns climbed higher, their joined shadows stretched across the plaza, one dark, one bright, blending into a single shape. Later that evening, as the city lights flickered alive again, the holoscreens across 3 systems broadcast a final message under the new charter's seal. Let history remember that change began not with power, but with one act of defiance. A boy who bled for justice, a girl who refused to forget, and a bond that proved species, rank, and fear could all fall before a single truth. Humanity is not a race. It's a choice. High above the plaza, where crystal met sky, the new flag of Syrian unfurled, woven in colors that had never existed before. Gold for verdant light, red for human blood, and in the center, a single white star, born from both. The dawn had come, and this time, it would not fade.